To our Friday demo day. We are so lucky to have Sarah with us today from Aster Academy because Aster's courses to support tutors in building their tutoring businesses has been one of the most interesting initiatives that's happened in tutoring this year. And we've seen tutors benefiting. Now, as you know, at Qualified Tutor, we are simply and entirely about building up independent tutors, and we're about enabling parents and students to confidently choose tutors. Sarah has a particularly interesting, section of the tutoring market and the tutoring audience that she'll be talking about how to reach today. But I'm not going to give you anything more than that teaser. We're just going to over. So Sarah, my darling, over to you.
Oh, Julia, thank you. You're usually the best introductions. I love it. I'll see if I can live up to the hype. Hello. So I will share my screen in a minute, if that's okay, and just talk you through a few slides, because otherwise my tendency is to waffle. So it keeps me on track and nothing else. And I also give you a bit of information about my background. And if you want to ask any questions, just please do let me know. And Julia will keep track of the chat. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and then talk you through let's put it in the right place so I can see it. Right. Is that on your screens? Marvelous. Okay. So yeah, I'll talk you through how Aster Academy was born and where we're at now, because we're about to get into week 9. So I will talk a little bit about where my current cohort are at, and also my very strong links to Qualified Tutor, because there's a huge overlap here, a really organic one. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how you can be successful in the tutoring world. And as Julia said, I have a very specific niche, which has worked out really, really well for me. But just to give you a little bit of a background, so I've taught in the state and independent sectors since I qualified as a teacher 17 years ago. And latterly, I was head of English in a lovely prep school in the north of England. And I left to set up my own tutoring business. Initially, it was, I say just an English tutor. I don't mean just an English tutor at all. But that was my dream, was to tutor English, because I absolutely love it. And that passion has not diminished. So I still tutor, even though I don't really need to, because I love it. So I set up Aster Tuition, which was to support students with all elements of English, but generally speaking, 11 plus and GCSE. That was my kind of bread and butter. I then started working with a Chinese agent. All sounds a bit nefarious when you say agent, but I started working with a Chinese agent. I thought, oh my goodness, I can just work in the daytime. And it hadn't occurred to me at that point. I just assumed that I'd be tutoring evenings and weekends. And I realized that I wanted the daytime market. That's what I wanted for my social life, for my children. And then I started to delve deeper into this very new world, and have basically spent ever since delving into it. So I became an accredited member of the Boarding School Association, just to kind of cement my expertise and also to better support students who come to the UK. And then I began recruiting tutors. Again, this all happened organically. A Chinese agent said, can you recommend a maths tutor? Can you recommend a science tutor? And can you coordinate them? And it sort of happened. But I don't want to think that these sort of opportunities kind of came to me. I had to seek a lot of them out. So then I increased my network, and over time have started working with agents in Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong, China, the Middle East, and the US, as well as within the UK. So it was a really it's become a big operation, as I was explaining to Julia this morning. And, you know, financially, it's been hugely successful for me. That was not the goal initially, but it is a nice position to be in. So I was then getting contacted by tutors. How did you do it? Where did you find the students? How do you sell to Chinese agents? And I basically put together this program and went to Julia, and she was like, yeah, love it, brilliant. And then it was important to me that I had that qualified tutor accreditation so that people could see it was rigorous, well researched and impactful. So that's what I did. These are the questions that I was getting asked all the time. And it was I think I was having sometimes between 5 and 10 conversations a week with, I'd say, disaffected teachers. I don't know if that's right, disenfranchised. They didn't want to be in the system anymore. They wanted a way out. And
I think the word is just knackered.
Yeah, they were that honestly just done in, just done in, which I think we can all identify with, can't we? But they seem to think that there was something unique to me that had created the situation. And as much as I like to feel special, I know that I am, no more special than anyone else. But it is possible to do. So I created Aster Academy. And what I've done is I have taken every single thing I've learned in 2.5 years and distilled that into a 3-month program. And it's everything. So I've set it into sort of 3 portions, which I've called Nurture, Blossom and Flourish, so that by the end of the 12-week program, the tutors are, securing clients. They have every single element of my toolkit. If you've watched any of the webinars that I've done recently with members of Aster Academy, they say things like, I opened my doors to them and gave them everything. And I have every single thing I could have shared, I've given to them, and given willingly, because I think as teachers or tutors, we're collaborators, aren't we? And that for me is really important. So there is a comprehensive program, and it goes through every element that you need to be successful as an international tutor. And beyond that, I have a Facebook group, a community just for Aster Academy. I do lives twice a week where I share things I've done that week, things that have worked, things that have not worked, outcomes of agent meetings that I've had, so that they're constantly seeing the processes and how I'm learning from it, and then sharing that knowledge. Because for me, it's really important. I want to empower them and give them every sort of, I think, every ingredient to make this kind of successful tutoring business. And I also talk about my mistakes and what that cost me financially, but also what it cost me perhaps emotionally, so that they don't waste time going down a rabbit hole of contacting agents in Jordan when I know what the Jordanese do and don't want. So it's a really sort of specific program that they are benefiting from. And I know many of them are now QT members, and I'm sure if you ask them, they would be more than happy to talk about it. Okay. I just want to kind of talk about 5 maybe key things or key principles, because this is what's really kind of come to me from the conversations I've had with teachers and tutors about how they can make it a viable business. So we talk about how you can step out of teaching and going it alone. That, it's a scary first step. It really is. And I'm there to support and show how you can do it and how you can make those tentative first steps. We talk about finances. I think as when I was teaching, I knew nothing about finances or marketing or anything. I just got my salary and I went home. So now we talk about those pain points, planning ahead, what we can do to ensure that you are substituting your salary and exceeding it. Because that's most people's goal. Yes, they want the daytime market, but they also want to have more financial freedom, more flexibility. So I talk about how I only need to tutor for 10 hours a week, and that more than pays for everything I need. And then anything I do on top of that is a bonus. We focus on how you can sell into different markets. You can't have a cookie cutter approach. What agents want in mainland China is not what people want in Hong Kong, Singapore. And it's about understanding those different needs of people. We all use social media. That's not going to be a surprise, but there are certain platforms that work better to recruit international agents, and there's certain ways to attract those agents and to draw them in and to nurture them. So we talk a lot about the power of using the right social media platforms and having the right marketing content and strategy. Number 5, I spoke about this. I've spoken about this many times. And if you watch any of the webinars, Julia, I don't expect you to watch any of my webinars that I've recorded, but if you ever wanted to, I always mention qualified tutor. Yes, have a coach, have your family behind you, have your friends, whatever. But in order for you to grow professionally and personally, you need to be around a network of like-minded people. And that's why I encourage everybody on my program to join qualified tutor, because that's what I believe it's there for. And in miniature, that's what we have on the Academy program, because we're all tutors looking to get into a specific market, and we're there to support each other. So one of the things I've brought in for this cohort is accountability partners. So they have somebody who checks in with them once a week within the program. And that's very much happened organically. I said to them, what do you want that we don't have? What do you think we need that could make this even better? And that's one of the things they said. So I brought it in straight away. Second thing, I realized, having looked at some of their messages to me, that they were really lacking in confidence when it came to sales. So I did a free 1 hour bonus session all about how to sell, because I wanted them to have that confidence. So I give a lot, and they give a lot back, actually. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So I talk about things that you can do initially. This idea of, I tell people, before you start dipping your toe into LinkedIn, if you're not used to using it or you don't quite know how it works, to start researching people. So I share lists of people I follow and that I've learned a lot from, so they can start watching and really gaining from that. And then we talk about future you. So what do you want future you to be? What do they look like? What will they be doing that's different from now? And that positive mindset, and really just channeling that from the outset. And then using socials to share their voice and their, not just their expertise, but we talk about the analytics and which posts are looked at by people more than others, and sort of all the geeky research into that, because I am a bit of a geek, and I'm not going to apologize for that. So these are all of the things that probably were the biggest fears of tutors that joined the program. And I have tackled all of those in the academy. So how you can get a secure income from the outset, how you can have a passive income stream in the international market and what that looks like, how to run a business. I had no clue when I started, not a clue how to run a business. And I was running around paying people left, right and centre for support. Some of it great, some of it absolutely shocking. So I didn't want anybody else to be in that situation where they felt helpless and didn't know where to turn. I said to my group last week, I wish I'd had somebody holding my hand at the start and kind of guiding me along. And that's what I want to be for my academy program. So we talk about the fundamentals of running a successful international tutoring business. Sharing the connections. I share all of my connections. I invite guest speakers in. I have experts in, boarding school agents, head of admissions, international marketers. I don't hold anything back because I'm secure in my role. I don't feel that I need to keep anything hidden, and they have massively appreciated that. And we talk about the nuances of the international sector from my experience working with schools and networking with schools as a boarding school agent, and the networks I've forged, the communities that I have set up with agents worldwide, because that is really fundamental to success. Okay. So this is the finance bit, which I will just go through very briefly. So there are payment plans available. It's £1,500 in full, but I am offering instalment payments. And underneath, I've pretty much talked about all the things that you'll get. So the resources, the templates. I share all of the templates and resources that I have written and sent out to agents that have worked. So the lead magnets that have got me conversations, the email newsletters that have worked, and the ones that haven't, and why they have not worked, because I think people need to see that you've experimented, you've failed, and you've learned from it. So there's a lot of that. The bonus sessions I've talked about, the private Facebook group where I'm constantly responding to questions so that nothing is left behind. And if we run out of time in that hour session that we have, and they say, oh, Sarah, I've got these things I need to talk about, I'll say, just shove me the questions, I'll answer them in a live, so that they're sort of constantly getting that diet of information and support, so they're not left hanging from week to week. And then each week there's a 1 hour session where there's a focus, it's sort of a clear focus for each week, and it's recorded. So if you can't make it, you can watch it. And the people that have not been able to make it, they know they can message me and say, oh, I didn't understand this bit, can you go over it with me? So it doesn't matter if you can't attend live, there is that extra bonus. And because one of the things that I have created is this monthly mastery, I love alliteration, membership hub, which is bringing in expert speakers from marketing and sales world outside of education. That is, their courses cost tens of thousands of pounds. So they're coming in once a month to speak to my audience, and that's a separate fee. But for anyone who pays in full, they get a free strategy session with me for 90 minutes where we go do a deep dive into a business, and you get a month's free for the Mastery membership hub. So yes, that is pretty much it. And I have a nice little QR code. If anyone wants to scan that, it takes them straight through to the holding page where you can register your interest. And I'm going to stop sharing. I know that was a whistle-stop tour, so that people can obviously ask me any questions. One thing I will say is I actually can't quite believe how many people have got in touch since I released this 12 days ago. I've now got 270 people who are interested in the course, which is amazing. And I think that's actually down to what the people have been saying on the program and what they've been putting on LinkedIn, the videos and everything. I can impact to a certain degree, but when you see the impact it has on other people, I think that's been the true kind of the strength of the business. So yes, it's an exciting time.
Blimey, Sarah. So this is what we were just talking about, Emma and I, in the chat, is that
I couldn't see that.
there's a moment when you leave school, and you were at that moment, weren't you?
Yeah.
And for you to now have 200 plus tutors, when you launched the first course and we ran the demo day for that one, you had 2 places left. Was it 20 places in total you had?
15. I had 15.
15 places, and we had 4 people in the room who were vying for the last 2 places.
Yeah.
And the tension was palpable.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not surprised that you have the 200 plus now, because it's clearly speaking the right language. I'd love to hear from Emma and Zach. Do you have any questions? Go for it, Zach.
I do have a question. Firstly, Sarah, thank you so much. That was really, really excellent and really interesting to sort of hear about your journey. I'm coming from a slightly different perspective. I run a tuition, I don't like to use the word agency, but essentially I run a tuition agency. And in our little kind of North London world, we're fairly well known. But one of the things that areas of big growth that they're very much interested in is internationally. Yeah. And I'm just wondering whether your course would be relevant to myself, coming from the perspective of a sort of a business owner already with a group of tutors, as opposed to an individual tutor who's wondering whether they should leave the classroom or not.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And what I can tell you is that of the 15 people in the programme, the majority already have tutoring businesses or agencies. And then the minority are in a school, and then it's everything in between. So I have somebody who's about to franchise their tutoring business. I have people who have run a tutoring agency for many years. I have single subject tutors. So I think it has definitely appealed to a very broad spectrum. And I think the other thing, Zach, is that one of the reasons that I'm trying to advertise it early is because I am happy to make tweaks to the program to ensure that everybody gets exactly what they want. So, for example, I have somebody who's signed up for January who is particularly interested in the summer school market because they want to be able to work in person with groups of students, and that kind of appeals to their area of expertise. So there's a whole element that I'm building into. We've touched on it briefly in this 12-week program, but it'll be more of a focus next time, because that's something that I think would benefit all of them. And it's a very, very it's a lucrative market, but it's also a very fascinating one for people who perhaps want to have a hybrid of online and in person. So if you were to say to me, look, my agency supports these families and I'm looking for this, this and this, then that's something that I would tailor to make sure that your needs are covered. But fundamentally, the succinct answer I should have given you is it does not matter whether you are a huge tutoring agency, a single subject tutor, or working in a school. The program is designed to give everybody something that's beneficial and useful for their businesses.
Thank you. And when you said the reason that you're advertising it early, what do you mean by advertising it early?
So it doesn't start until January, and I wanted to give people time because I'm offering these strategy places, 90-minute strategy places, partly so that I can give sort of a deep dive into that person's business and really sort of accelerate their growth before they start the program with me. So they've got a mini plan in mind before we even start the group program, but also because it allows me to get to know that person and go, okay, I can see that weeks 5 and 7 from this program, I can draw that out a bit more and give them extra depth on that. So and the reason is there were 15 places. I have made the decision to scale that down to 10 purely because, and it's not, it's not going to do me any favors financially, is it? But it's because I want to give even more time and energy to a smaller cohort. So no, and I didn't, Julia, but I was wrestling about that for ages. I could have easily gone to 20, but I don't want to do that. I want to give it everybody the best. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry, sirens everywhere. I want to give everyone the best possible support. And for me, that was, okay, let's shrink it down. So yeah.
So I guess just almost following on from that is, I mean, do you offer, I'm just wondering whether being part of as much as it's nice to be part of a cohort and going on a journey together, one of the great things about, for example, tutoring is that it's one-to-one as opposed to a group. Well, I mean, you can have small group tuition, and I'm wondering, do you offer any of that one-to-one? Do you offer that as basically an alternative service? So people could do your course, but if let's say I just wanted to have, some chats with you just to get into, because obviously some of those things that you put in what the course covers, I don't think would be particularly relevant. It's not to say it's I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but it's not particularly relevant to where where we're at in our journey.
Of course. And
so I'm just wondering, whether you offer sort of that as instead of, or as well as, or anything like that.
Yeah, it's either or. So I do have one-to-one strategy places, and obviously the cost of that generally means that people prefer to do the 12-week program. But I have people, I think of the 15 people I have, 8 of them are having one-to-one strategy sessions with me as well. But absolutely, the one-to-one places are there. I don't advertise them because I haven't needed to. And I only offer a small number of them. But yes, that's, if you wanted to message me about that, we can talk about that separately. That's not a problem.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
That's fine. Emma, did you have any questions?
Zach actually asked mine.
Okay.
Because I'm in the same position. I run an agency.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it was about, we've already got the business running.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily need the business strategy as such. It would be more about the international stuff, really.
I mean, all I will say is that every single week is dedicated to the international market. There's not one week that isn't. Everything is. It's the whole focus is on that, which I think is what makes this program different. The extra bonus sessions that I ran for free were for those tutors who felt that they didn't quite understand or weren't quite at that point. But the entire program is on the basis of how to crack the international market. So whether it is the content pillars or using LinkedIn or working with an international marketer, all of it is with that kind of, okay, but how do we translate that to bringing an audience in from Beijing or et cetera?
Two boring questions, but
no, go for it.
That's okay. One is, how long are the weekly sessions?
An hour. Each one's an hour.
So 1 hour. And secondly, in terms of the cost, is that inclusive of VAT, or is VAT on top of that, or is there no VAT?
Right. Now, that's a good question, because I recently, even though I was under the impression from my accountant that I know it's not under the impression, I should be paying VAT, but because 75% of my tutoring comes from English language tutoring, that's VAT exempt, which I only discovered relatively recently. I did not know that. So the course it's £1,500 inclusive.
So when you say inclusive,
There's no VAT. It's £1,500, no VAT.
So there's no VAT. Well, I guess because if it was inclusive, it means we could reclaim the VAT.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but
no, there is no
can't
VAT.
reclaim because there's no VAT being charged.
Exactly. Yeah.
Zach, you
A
promised
quick question, digressing, Sarah.
Yeah.
The VAT thing, just because my ears pricked up then.
Yeah.
Where do I find that information?
If you do what I did and spend many tedious hours trailing the internet,
that's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. We'll go to Julia.
Go on, Julia.
Okay, so I've written down that I wanted to tell you about a new partner of ours, Tracy Robertson, who has a new hub in the QT community called Small Business Accounts.
Oh,
and
this
her
is useful.
model is simple. That's what she calls it. That's what she's promising. So she does have a demo day booked in, and you can reach out to her in the Small Business Accounts hub and ask Tracy your questions. Odette met with her this week, fell in love with her because that's how she rolls. And the thinking is that she is going to tell us the things that we don't know that we don't know.
Yeah.
Unknown.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What's her surname? Tracy
Robertson. So if you just pop into the QT, Odette, you've pricked up there, haven't you? Can I just ask you, are you cooking in your kitchen right now?
Yes, I've just made colour. The chicken soup's on. We're on track. We're on track. Tracy's awesome. And the idea of the hub in the community is that these types of questions, go and ask her. And one of the things she said she'll do for us is if she doesn't know the answer, she'll go find it. And that's the stuff that our members really need. They need access to this information. Who's got time to trawl through the internet when we've got experts in the hubs ready to help us? And if she can't, then we'll get another partner to join her in the hub. And that's the idea of just being able to elevate you guys, really, to get the most out of your tutoring business.
Just before you arrived, Odette, we were talking about hive mind, and Sarah was saying how helpful it is to be surrounded by like-minded peers. So I think that's exactly the conversation there. More questions on Sarah's course. Emma, Zach?
I think I've answered them all, I think.
Have you?
I think so.
Fantastic. So I'm going to share with you a couple of things before I wrap up this lovely session. I mentioned Tracy Robertson to you. I also wanted to tell you that there's another hub opening next week, which is exam information. So we've just created a really exciting partnership with Tutors and Exams, which have 10 exam centers all over the country. They serve the private candidate market, and they're really excited to work with QT because what they understand is that they can deliver any qualification if you can get the right tutor. So being able to plug in tutors and exams is very exciting. But they've asked to have a hub in the community that tells us about exam specific information, and they will be feeding us what the exam boards are saying every year and inviting us to the exam specific webinars. So I'm really chuffed to be able to keep people up to date with that information. I know it's not specific to the international market, Sarah, but it definitely
helpful.
It's helpful, and more than that, it builds up our ongoing professional commitment and development, doesn't it? Yeah. I think I've just lost Emma. Supervision circles I wanted to share with you will be running on Friday mornings between 9 and 10:30, and they are an opportunity for that mastermind experience, hosted by Jack and Lorna, who are very wise wellbeing coaches, creating safe spaces for people to reflect on their process, what's going well. Sarah, you were at a taster session yesterday.
I was there.
And you said that it left you feeling centered.
Yeah. Oh, well remembered.
Yes. I'm an English person too. So that language of centered was exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to help you to stay honest, to stay in tune with what's working well and how to continue to improve and take that responsibility. And the last thing, of course, is that Sarah is proudly one of our first QT certified members. Zach, I'm not sure whether or not you've heard about QT certification yet. We only launched it last week because, yes, we drink a lot of coffee, don't sleep very much, and are inventing as quickly as the tutoring space needs. QT certification means that I have checked Sarah's enhanced DBS on the update service, safeguarding training, insurance, verified client reviews, and terms and conditions. So policies and procedures, terms and conditions, GDPR, safeguarding. Sarah has them all in place, which is why she's carrying the QT certified logo. What that means to her is that she's listed on the QT directory and parents can find her there. QT certification is intended to advocate for excellence in tutoring. And when somebody is an independent tutor, they struggle to have that verification. That's what QT are aiming to provide. So within the tutoring experience, it's all about the Love Tutoring community and Love Tutoring events. We're there to bolster you up. And then from the out to the outside world, QT certification gives you the quality mark, the verification and the quality assurance to really, really grow with confidence and be sure that you're doing things well. So are there any questions on any of those things that you feel I should share with you now? Okie dokes, my lovely friends. Go on, Zach.
I guess, just one of the things, and I think it might probably be better to take this offline and
possibly because we are live on LinkedIn right now.
Oh, wow.
So
hello, world.
Shall I wrap up first? And
all
then
right, let's wrap up and we'll take it offline.
And then we'll get granular. So thank you to Sarah, to Emma, to Zach, and to Odette for participating in Demo Days today. I highly recommend that you explore Aster Academy. If Sarah can find space for you in her schedule, she absolutely will, because she's an immensely generous human. Sarah, I am curious to know whether or not you have a jumper to match every set of slides.
I try to.
You are totally in brand colours today.
Yeah. And also I try and make sure that everything's painted in brand colours.
Oh, beautiful. Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Not at all, I'm lying.
Thank you again, my friends. Have a fantastic weekend. Cheers.
Okay, bye everyone.
I'm pausing the recording, but you can stick around.
Thanks, Julia.
Thanks, Emma. I'm really pleased.